Hey everybody, a video here for you today, and this is a video I wanted to make before I leave on a little journey, and I won't be making any history videos at least for another week. I might upload a music video in there if I feel like it, but what I wanted to talk about today is the face of the Sphinx, and I have had a lot of questions. Why do I think it is Thutmose IV? And this is something I've looked at for maybe about 4 years now. And when I first started looking into it, I thought it would be a complete mystery and really no solid answers. But what I found kind of surprised me, and I think this is a total failure of historians to bring you whose face is actually on here. Now, I'm not saying 100% positively the face is Thutmose IV, but clearly the best evidence all points to him, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, it's pretty much agreed upon that the head was recarved at some point during the dynastic Egyptian history, and the head is way too small for the body, and the Egyptians were all about correct proportions, so it's clearly obvious that this was recarved at some point in history, and it all points to the 18th dynasty, and I'm going to tell you why it's Thutmose IV. But just common sense told me that any Egyptian pharaoh that would have put his face on the Sphinx would have been doing major restoration work on the Sphinx. He probably would have put it in text that his face is on the Sphinx, probably would have had a temple at some time erected in the honor of his face being on the Sphinx. Well, I think Thutmose IV did all those, and let me explain. Now, Thutmose IV, he did not live a long life, but he was a powerful and mighty pharaoh during the 18th dynasty, which is when Egypt really resurged to great national power. Thutmose IV was not the rightful heir to the throne, and something happened to his brother, but he erected the dream stela here, and there's a tale that he was out hunting one day, and he came back and took a nap beneath the shade provided by what I think was only a stump of a neck left, because the Sphinx really isn't mentioned for 800 years, and I just think it was the stump of what was originally here, and I think that was Anubis, because that's what the ancient Egyptians tell us in their text, in their tombs, and in their artwork. And when the Sphinx is talking to him, this is text from the dream stela. The Sphinx says, "My face is yours, my heart is yours." So the actual script is telling us that the face is Thutmose IV. That is just common sense. The Sphinx is talking to him and says, "My face is yours," and this is inscribed on the tablet known as the Dream Stela by Thutmose IV. He's telling us the face is his. But the 18th dynasty pharaohs know this is some sort of god down here, and he has a conversation with Thutmose, who is sleeping probably on the desert sand because the Sphinx is buried at this time right in this area. And the story goes, in the text, the great god, the monument, is talking to Thutmose, says, "My limbs are in really, really bad shape, and if you restore me, you will become king of Egypt." And that's what happens. But not only does Thutmose IV uncover the Sphinx and do repair work on the body and the limbs of the Sphinx, I think he also put his face on it. He created walls around the Sphinx, and obviously this was a huge monumental effort. And if you restore a great monument after it has been really decapitated and defaced for 800 years, well, the pharaoh who uncovered it is certainly going to put his face on it. That's what makes sense. Let's talk about the beard, and the beard is one thing that I know they discovered. Here we see a little outcropping, and this is clearly evident on 1800 black and white pics of the Sphinx, what we call the Sphinx today. This is Ancient History Encyclopedia, but this is a fragment of the beard that was discovered at Giza, and people did tests on this and looked at it, and let me just read. It says, "Some pharaohs repaired and renewed already ancient monuments, and they duly advertised their sacred work. In the 18th dynasty, Prince Thutmose fell asleep in the shadow of the Sphinx. It purportedly spoke to him in a dream, promising Egypt's throne, but pleading to be freed of accumulated sands. On taking the throne, Thutmose IV did clear and repair the Sphinx. The pleated beard was likely his work. The new beard had a curvy tip, which identifies the wearer as a god. The original beard from Khafre's time would have been straight. The king's, the adopted beard, eventually broke off, but fragments were found between the front paws in the 19th century. Other portions are now in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Now, I've read a paper from Mark Lehner that clearly identifies the beard being made in the 18th dynasty, and here it says Thutmose IV was clearly the most obvious candidate. And if you are making a beard, well, you are also doing the chin and the face, since you're doing everything else in this restoration project. And here is a chair panel from Thutmose IV's tomb. But here Thutmose IV is depicted as the Sphinx. Nemes headdress, eye makeup, ears, everything fits what we see at Giza today. And if you look closely, here is that very beard I just showed you. And people theorize that this was maybe an original beard on an original human. No. I think this is what we had in antiquity. Now, I'm not sure if this was the original form of Anubis, and that's not what I'm getting at here, but this is what I believe was underneath the chin of Anubis when he originally was at Giza, and this was just worn away. It's Anubis protecting the king, the pharaoh. That is in all the ancient text, and I think it was symbolized on the Giza plateau in antiquity, like thousands and thousands of years ago, and then this wore away, and then all we have today is this little outcropping on the chest, and the beard was carved out of what was remaining of that statue of the pharaoh underneath the chin. So Thutmose IV certainly had motive and opportunity to put his face on the Sphinx. Research into the dating of the beard points to Thutmose IV. Seems he put into the text of the dream stela that it was his face indeed on the Sphinx. What about a little temple? Well, here is a pic from 1937 Giza, and you notice right here, this is Kinkawi's tomb. I think that is what I'm seeing beyond the Valley Temple, but this would have been the alignment, and you see a little more on top of the Valley Temple than I believe what we see today. But the alignment of that setting sun on December 21st, here you can kind of see what that would look like from a pic from old Giza here, would have been clearly visible. And that's what I talked about in my last video. But this is a pic from 1937, and this is a little temple that I have mentioned before, and I thought this was built by Amenhotep III, a mighty ruler of the 18th dynasty who was the son of Thutmose IV. But this is gone today, so we have lost this structure in the last 80 years. But let's go down here and take a look from what's left of this place today. But I'm going to share just a brief clip from, I believe, what is over a 3-hour video from Carlos's channel here. And I don't know when the last time I mentioned Carlos's channel, but he has many videos featuring John Anthony West. And if you just want to binge out watching some Egypt videos, well, here's the place to go. Carlos has tour lectures from John Anthony West in many of the most famous sites in Egypt. And I discovered Carlos's channel maybe 1.5 or 2 years ago, and I'm not even finished watching all of the videos. Many of them are an hour or two long, some of them 3 hours long. And the information from John Anthony West. I started watching this video. Now here is a video from Carlos's channel, and I had seen one of John Anthony West's videos from down by the Sphinx and on the Giza Plateau, but this one is 3 hours and 34 minutes long, and I miss watching John Anthony West just talk, and especially right in front of the Sphinx here. But one thing watching this video, since I've learned a little bit about hieroglyphics in the last few years, one thing just was eye-popping to me, and things began to make sense. But let's go down and look at what that little temple next to the Sphinx looks like that was built in the 18th dynasty, and who that is actually dedicated to, and who it frames and what it's all about.
Do you know what the glistening? What? Do you know what the stuff
yes.
is?
It's the cartouche of Heper Minra. It's Thutmose IV. Right? So this is a temple. Look at beautifully realized the execution of the.
Come in here. I'm sure everybody here. See this temple here, actually, this beautiful little temple is New Kingdom, but why it's built the way that it is and oriented the way it is A, obviously deliberate, B, to what end? If you stand right in the middle where I am here, you see that the Sphinx is perfectly...
Can't hear you, John.
What?
You can't hear you. You're back.
Yeah,
Come around.
if you stand where I am and look through, you see that it's oriented directly onto the Great Sphinx. Exact. And then if you come, I mean, you have to do it one at a time. If you go and do the same thing, you do the same thing here, and you look through, and exactly where I am now, you see that it's exactly oriented to the Great Pyramid. So that leaves open, because if you look out this way, you don't see anything. But if each one, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know of anyone who's done a study. If they've done some kind of an astronomical study, and this one is focused on not an equinox, because that's the Sphinx, but maybe a solstice, I'm not sure what. And then, again, by extension, the one that faces northeast there might, you know, if they're doing two things that are exact and it's deliberate, it does stand to reason that 3 and 4 are also going to have some sort of significance. In this case, this one, interesting because there's nothing out there, but it would be someplace, let's say if we had the money with our seismographs and stuff to go checking out there to see if anything turned up in a place where they wouldn't expect it to be. Anyway, it's a very beautiful little, it's got some vibes to it, this little place. And of course
It's a temple
Photo
made by Thutmose IV, who did the stela between the cars, right?
He's New Kingdom?
That's
New Kingdom. That's about around 1400 BC.
Yeah.
Around. But again, what the purpose of the temple is,
We don't know. All right.
Once again, this is 1937, Giza, and we have lost this structure today, but the inside of it, and I think what it represents, is still pretty obvious. It's in honor of Thutmose IV, and it frames his face. And I think this was built by Amenhotep III, the son of Thutmose IV, and I think John Anthony West even states that in a different Giza lecture video here. But it's pretty rare for a pharaoh to honor a dead pharaoh with a temple, but I think Amenhotep was so proud of his father's face being on the Sphinx that that's what he did. Usually pharaohs, they desecrate or try to eliminate monuments of pharaohs in the past. Well, this guy built a monument to the face of his father and framed it around the face of the Sphinx. But I like mysteries. I like the hardest mysteries just because they're hard. Now, I'm not saying the face of the Sphinx is positively 100% Thutmose IV, but I just didn't want to put out a general theory. You hear it's a woman, you hear this and that. I wanted to put together a video with the best evidence I could produce. Is this monument Thutmose IV? Well, I'll leave that up to you in the comment section, but I think all the evidence points to him. Motive, opportunity, text, a temple. The temple here, I am trying to gather all the clips from John Anthony West's videos in this little temple, and I think there is a story on the hieroglyphs, and I'm trying to decode them, but I'm pretty sure it says Thutmose's face is on the Sphinx in the small little temple here. I will leave a link for this full video. It's 3.5 hours long, I will leave a link for Carlos's channel, but the face of the Sphinx, I believe, is Thutmose IV. I told you why. They might have even been trying to tell us this. Hope you thought this was interesting, and you all have a very nice day.